They're here.
So yeah, at first, I just didn't know what to do.
At first, Daddy was confused.
I didn't know it was going to affect people in Nassau and Freeport.
And then I told him it was just the first 3 numbers.
Our new phone numbers have arrived, but there is no need to be afraid. Only the first 3 numbers have changed. The new numbers are in effect now.
Good evening, Bahamas. You're tuned into NB12, broadcasting from Cable 12 Studios on Robinson Road. Coming up tonight in news, the attorney representing web shop owners says they're being discriminated against. The new chief magistrate sworn in. There's trouble brewing at a local airline, plus Bahamas Speed Week revival making a speedy comeback. We've got those stories and so much more coming up. I'm Paige McCartney, and NB12 starts right now. Welcome once again to NB12. Some Bahamians were outraged when a draft of the gaming bill was leaked back in April. Now, 6 months later, an amended bill has been tabled in the House of Assembly. However, it seems web shop bosses aren't too happy with this one either. Their attorney, Wayne Munroe, called parts of the bill unrealistic and discriminatory, asserting that local businessmen are fighting in court to do in their own country what the government is handing to foreign casino operators on a silver platter. Vani Toot reports.
They say it's better in the Bahamas. However, web shop attorney Wayne Munroe says it seems that only applies to foreign nationals. After reading the new gaming bill tabled in Parliament last week, Munroe says Bahamians should be outraged that they still won't be allowed to gamble in local casinos, even though foreigners can. Additionally, he says it is utterly ridiculous to make online gaming legal for casinos, but not for local businesses.
Well, it's like saying adultery is all right so long as you're not Bahamian. Yeah, it's obvious. It's just very obvious. At least in some states in the U.S., they purport to outlaw online gaming by people resident in those states. We don't purport to do that by this bill. And so it begs the question as to why you are withholding business opportunities from Bahamians.
Under the bill, casino operators would be permitted to conduct mobile gaming in any area of their resort. They would also be allowed to engage in internet gaming, something web shop owners currently engage in but have been fighting for in court since the failed gambling referendum. Munroe called this a double standard.
Even before the referendum, the government had already extended to Atlantis when they extended to them a temporary mobile gaming license. And so, to me, it's clearly a double standard where it's only better in the Bahamas for foreigners, but not for Bahamians.
However, the attorney says what's sad is that the bill does not actually prevent Bahamians from engaging in online gaming. It simply prevents web shop bosses from operating their websites locally.
It is utterly ridiculous that I can open up my tablet and game online now, and even after the bill is passed into law, if it's passed into law in its current state, I'll be able to game it anyone I see fit, so long as the website is not operated, run, and managed from the Bahamas. You can game it anybody, other than somebody who has a website where they give the government revenue and Bahamians jobs. That's one of the stupidest things I've ever heard.
Casino operators have been lobbying for a new casino bill for some time now in an effort to significantly boost gaming revenue. Most of the recommendations they made to government were included in the new bill. However, Munroe feels it's wrong that his clients were not consulted. In fact, he says he initially advised his clients that a very profitable option would be to shut down their web shops and go virtual.
If you were to close every web shop, Island Games website would still be up, Island Lux website would still be up, FML's web shop would still be up, What Force websites would still be. The only thing is most of these fellas, well, all of them, grew up amongst people and have a fundamental problem with putting tons of people out of work.
Despite some opposition to the new bill, government did eliminate one provision from the previous one that sparked outrage earlier this year. Officials revised the bill and eliminated the provision that would have allowed work permit holders and permanent residents to gamble legally in the Bahamas. Debate on the bill is scheduled to take place next week. Reporting for NB12, I'm Vonik Toot.
While Munroe is also the attorney for the 5 Defense Force Marines who are the subject of an ongoing disciplinary hearing. The attorney says he has requested copies of closed-circuit television footage from the Carmichael Road Detention Center. The 5 men are at the center of the controversy surrounding the alleged abuse of Cuban detainees following an escape attempt in May. Munroe pointed out that the disciplinary hearing, which began late last month, would be pointless if the alleged incident was caught on camera.
One of the things we've asked for is an indication of whether the CCTV system they had installed was working, and for copies of the footage from it. And if they provide that from the instructions that my client give me, I don't understand why we have to have any proceeding at all, because all of it would be captured on tape. And it was their understanding that that was the reason why they were putting in the CCTV system.
If the system was installed but not operational, Munroe says that's a disgrace that should result in the National Security Minister's resignation.
It would actually be shambolic and a disgrace on the Ministry of National Security if they put in place a system that they choose not to have operational that would be able to protect the reputation of our Marines and the country. And if that is so, then whoever is responsible for that should be sacked, including the minister. If they had a non-operational CCTV system in place that we paid for, because to have the cameras there, that means we've already paid for them, and they just didn't go so far as to connect the system where now with these new cameras you flip the switch and I can sit at my desk and watch what happens in my house and record it. The minister needs to be fired over that.
While Director of Immigration William Pratt told us that CCTV was just implemented a few weeks back to safeguard against such incidents, he says CCTV was not installed sooner because of the cost of the equipment. It's unclear when the disciplinary hearing will continue. However, Munroe says he received an incomplete package of medical records and photographs on Friday. The new chief magistrate has vowed to roll up her sleeves and do all she can to reduce the tremendous backlog of court cases. With a deep sense of humility, Joyanne Ferguson Pratt was sworn in by Chief Justice Sir Michael Barnett this morning as the new chief magistrate. She replaces Roger Gomez, who was sworn in as a justice of the Supreme Court back in June. While acknowledging that she and her team have a lot of work to do, Ferguson Pratt says they must get it done one step at a time.
The backlog of cases is a matter which we must tackle, and we will do it one step at a time. There is a wonderful cadre of professionals who I am privileged to be their team leader, and I'm assured of their support as we go forward. And so we're going to all roll up our sleeves.
Before accepting her new appointment, Ferguson Pratt served as magistrate of the gun court. While that hasn't changed, she says she will now have to share her workload.
I still have quite a calendar in those matters. I'm continuing with those matters, but any one of my colleagues, they are more than qualified to take on that challenge. And I will continue with gun matters, but of course with my administrative responsibilities, some of those matters will have to be transferred to my colleagues.
The post of Deputy Chief Magistrate, formerly held by Justice Carolina Bethel, is still vacant. A local airline is now facing tough decisions as Sky Bahamas moves to reduce its labor force and recover from declining business, increased operating costs, and continued union action following a 3-day sick-out by pilots. Christina McNeil has the details of what's next for the airline and the union representing its pilots.
Another round of layoffs expected at Sky Bahamas sometime today after 10 pilots were let go on Friday. This comes amid ongoing controversy with the Bahamian Pilots Association over outstanding issues.
The staff morale will be a challenge because there have been people laid off in other areas. And that's sad, but that's the reality what we face with today. And I think by the time you hear this report, there may have been some other layoffs today. That's the reality.
Our news team understands that up to airtime, 11 non-technical employees were let go, with some additional workers accepting to go on days. None of those let go were pilots. According to a letter issued to the 10 pilots in question on October 18th, in order for Sky Bahamas to survive, the organization must be streamlined. As a result, the airline furloughed the pilots without pay for a period of 6 months effective October 18th. That furlough gives the company up to 6 months to recall the pilots in the event the company's operations improve. Sky Bahamas also gave the pilots the option to receive severance pay if they choose not to accept the furlough. However, President of the Bahamian Pilots Association, Mark Johnson, maintains that furloughs do not exist in the Bahamas and is calling on Sky Bahamas to reinstate those pilots.
They are not offering them any severance packages. What they're trying to do is avoid severance packages by using this term furlough. That furlough does not exist in the Bahamas. So if you can't afford to if you can't afford to pay, then you can't afford to fire. I would love to see them reinstate the workers or pay them their severance packages and let the guys move on with their lives.
The alliance has been lobbying for a new contract for pilots, some of whom staged a sick-out last week. According to the alliance, the airline is trying to intimidate and victimize pilots through union busting. But Butler tells our news team Sky Bahamas has been operating at around 15 to 20% of its flight capacity since earlier this year. But it's not just local airlines that are being impacted by what he described as an economic storm. This as Butler pledged to keep the airline afloat and dozens of Bahamians employed.
We told them the storm is coming. The government is sitting on their hands, looking. The bank is saying the storm is here. The hotel industry is saying the storm is here. The government today, if you listen and read the papers, are saying the storm is here. The construction industry is saying the storm is here. The retail people are saying it's here. And it's the reality unless we have to work our way out this. No competition-led union is going to stop us. Okay? This is a family. The pilots are Sky Bahamas pilots. We are a family, and we've been looking out for each other. We'll continue to look out for each other.
The Pilots Alliance was expected to file a trade dispute today, seeking to have the matter of pilots' severance packages resolved. Reporting for NB12, I'm Christina McNeil.